see you at the top. That's where I go. Hate me now.
Welcome back to another episode of the See You at the Top podcast. I got a special guest, Mr. Robert Reid, back with us again. First interview, we had great questions, just great communication, but so much has happened in the NBA world and just in the world in general since then. And I thought it would be amazing to get him back on the show. So we got him again. Thank you, Mr. Reid, for being here. How are you doing today?
I'm honored, Mr. Jordan. Thank you very much. Glad to be on your show again. Thank you.
Thank you. And so just kind of the stuff we talked about last time, we talked about the state of the NBA. We talked about players speaking up and making their voices heard. And I'm just going to jump right back into that. With the change of presidency, and we kind of see this shift in the country coming, how much of that do you think came from the NBA players and what happened in the bubble and what continued to happen all the way up until election night?
Well, I honestly believe that the athletes today are picking up on what the past athletes carried and did. We've been hearing about the movie One Fine Night about Ali, Sam
Right.
Cooke,
Malcolm X, I believe, too.
Malcolm X, and Jimmy Brown meeting one night, and then they're going over things. And this is what the media, how the media handles everything. You catch your news now just like this. Breaking news. Because you think about it, back then you only had ABC, CBS, and NBC. Mm-hmm. And it went off at 10:30. So today, with the way the computer world, quick media, these guys are picking up and they're starting to realize that their voices can be heard not only in their city, but across other cities that are their favorite player. They have that fan who's their favorite player, even though they're rooting for their home team. And these guys are starting to make an impact. I think that, and I feel that with the new presidency that's going on, there's more of a relaxed feeling of, let's see what happens. I can speak. Let's see what happens. And the players are doing and taking advantage of that.
What players in particular kind of stick out to you as to who's taken? Obviously, any of them taking any stand is a big move, but which players are you seeing as the big ball players out here?
Well, I have to definitely go with LeBron. LeBron James is one standing out. Dwayne Wade is speaking out. You have different others. Even the Greek freak, Giannis, and the guys up in Milwaukee, what happened. A lot of players are speaking out. And I have to say, I think some of the foreign players are speaking out. How I put it, about after the election, and when President Biden had made a comment about how the people of DACA, the foreigners who are here, they seem to have this, he put it in the words, of more American pride, okay? And some of the media people jumped on him, but they didn't understand. When you go to a swearing in, when the person is swearing in to be an American citizen, it's something new to them. Mm-hmm. And then when they saw what happened January 6th, come on, I saw that in my country. Yeah. I never expected to see that here. So some of the foreign players are now speaking up, and they're putting their footprints out there in the sand.
Right. And speaking of foreign players, and you mentioned Giannis, what do you think how do you think that affects people in America to see somebody that came from Greece and spent, I believe Giannis is 26, so he came over when he was about 20. So how do you think that shows someone that spent only 6 years here and is saying, hey, I even feel unprotected, and this is where I have to raise my kid. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, I mean, it should be an eye opener it should be an eye opener because you never know what would happen 10 o'clock at night. You never know what happened at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when, say, a police change shifts and something happens. I can go back with when I'm being from San Antonio. I'm 225 miles away. And I'll never forget, I had bought me one of the 928 S4 Porsche. And I'm coming from San Antonio, 1 o'clock at night on I-10 going east. And Lord forgive me, I'm going to tell the truth. I'm doing about 120. Come on, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Right, no one's out there.
Hey, I'm Mario Andretti, baby. And naturally, I got pulled over. The lights going. And during that time, they would ask you to get out the car. Okay, get out the vehicle. And when I got out the vehicle and I looked and the officer got out, he came right about here on me. Okay, 1 o'clock in the morning, here's the officer here and I'm standing over him. He asked for a license. I had my license and an insurance card and everything. I sat on the back bumper and did like this. Okay, wow. So he was over me. And, it's not being funny or facetious, but it was a matter of still, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know. So I'm going to give you respect first. And then when he saw it and looked at it, he said, okay, Mr. Reid, you can stand up. And fine, I got a ticket. We jawed a little bit. But in today's time, you don't know minute by minute. But if you have noticed one thing that my wife and I was talking about it, since the presidency, Joe Biden, and since it's come over, since the 20th, we've had 9 days, peace.
Right.
Okay, peace. We haven't seen, other than what happened up in Portland, but we're talking about far as, let's be honest, black man. It's been a little peaceful, and we pray that it still can continue that.
Right. Agreed. And, I believe, so it was last Monday was Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Yes.
And you were a young teenager, right, when Martin Luther King was shot?
Yes, I was.
From that day and that time period to today, I've heard a lot of people ask questions. Has there really been change? There's been change, but not a lot of it. There's been a lot of change, but we still got more to go. How do you feel from when you came up and when he was shot to how the state of the country is today?
Okay, well, let's look. What have we seen change? Some change. We have seen more black men and more black women and people of different nationalities in corporate America move up. Okay. We have seen where we can all move into the better neighborhoods. Okay. We can actually walk into a corporate bathroom. We've seen those changes, but far as how should I say, what happens minute by minute on the street, that still has not changed. That has not changed. And let's be honest, what we saw January 6th, and the people storming our Capitol, if they had been prepared like they were for Black Lives Matter, and if black men were going up there, it'd have been like OK Corral. I'm gonna tell you straight up, it'd have been the OK Corral, and the media would have jumped all on it. See, you can't trust them. You can't trust them. But I'm just, as you say, the changes, we are more in tune to how to tone ourselves down. We are in tune to say, hey, that's not the way we walk. That's not the way we talk now. Come on, straighten up, son. Straighten up and fly right.
Right. And, and I don't have to, we don't have to put this part in the podcast, but this is kind of just something I'm curious about. Since you are, as your wife and she's white, have you guys ever, being in Texas or anywhere else traveling, have you guys ever experienced something just being a interracial couple?
No, no, it really happened because, first of all, with our age, we didn't meet till late in our life. So we really didn't go through it earlier. But when you look and you see, let's tell the truth. When you read the story of Bill Russell, what he went through and as a Celtic, here's a Celtic winning. And he basically, when the season was over with, they left. They didn't live in Boston. And then how his place, his home was broken into. Doc Rivers, his home was burnt. Okay. Coach Boone with the movie Remember the Titans. Now that was just black, man. See what he went through. So that we have seen, and I've heard, I've witnessed it, nor it has to my wife and I, of interracial taunts or whatnot. I guess one thing is she's 6'1" and I'm 6'8". Do y'all feel lucky?
Right.
Y'all
want this problem today?
Yeah, and she's always looked like a model. And then with myself, with my name, people just kind of look, say, hey, that's a nice looking couple.
Gotcha. Cool. Thank you for sharing that. I was just curious about that. And so something that we had talked about in the last podcast as well was when you took your brief hiatus from the NBA. Mm-hmm. Just curious, just because I feel like we're seeing religion really phased out, especially in sports and a lot of politics. But it seems like it's almost kind of it's showing its face again. Yes. And in the Black community, religion is very, very important to many African Americans. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to ask you, based off what we had talked about in the first one, what role did that play when you did return into the NBA and then in retirement?
Well, I can be honest with you. At the time when I was in Miami working mm-hmm. and doing this stuff in my grandmother's church, I didn't call the Rockets. Mm-hmm. Okay, I had my attorney didn't call the Rockets. It wasn't until Bill Fitch talked to Ray Patterson, then they called my attorney, and I got online and say, we'd like to come back. So I'll put it this way. Thank you, Jesus. It was someone calling me. It wasn't me trying to say, hey, here I am. And so it did make me realize and appreciate the value of prayer and to come back. And we had to almost start over with a young team with Ralph Rodney being there. And then we eventually got John Lucas. So it was the first 2 years of rebuilding, and then we got Akeem, and we were able to go.
Right. And piggybacking off that, talking about the Rockets, let's kind of fast forward again into the current state of the Rockets. You and me had mentioned a little bit about you had said trust Coach Silas. He knows what he's doing. Since you've seen this trade of James Harden, and this kind of podcast is probably going to be more about NBA. And some other stuff as well. But what have you seen on the current state of the Rockets? They're on a 4-game winning streak. Sadly, this podcast won't come out tonight, but hopefully they're not on a losing streak when we drop this.
Right.
But what do you think of the current state of Coach Silas in this new Wall, Oladipo, and Woods era?
Well, I would have to say that Coach Silas and his coaching staff, you remember, I was a rookie when John Lucas, his second year, and the other coaches, they have put themselves on, okay, we're going to hear the coaches, we're going to get you prepared to play. Since Harden is traded and is gone, you've seen John Wall become more, I'm the leader. If something ain't going wrong, I'll be the one to stand up and say, hey, we lost because I didn't do this. Right. I let my man has been averaging 12 points. And look, he got 19 points tonight and we lost by 4. That's why we lost. That's the John Wall. You got Cousins, who is bringing a veteran's attitude into it. And he's he is happy regulating himself coming off the bench to a young Christian Woods that, hey, open up, Woods right now, just open up the floodgates and let this stallion out.
Right.
This kid can get the ball, come down the floor, and he creates situations that he can go coast to coast, go from south to north and north to south, not east and west. He'll pull up, and if he's going to go to the hole, everybody knows where they're at. So they're pushing the ball. And then the new kid we got from Indiana, don't know how to pronounce his last name yet.
Oladipo.
Oladipo, thank you. And Steelwood House, Eric Gordon. These guys are playing as one to say, look, I'll put it this way. It's 2 outs. We got a man on first and second, and this is the last inning, okay, or 1 out. So we got 1 out, and we up 1, 9th inning, and it's time for double play. When it happens, they're all on the same page. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That infield is on the same page. Right now, these Rocket players, when they come out with the scouting report, when they come on the floor after the last chalk talk, even when they're doing the layup line, you see them giving each other 5 and looking the guy in the eye. Hey, let's do this. And then when you look and you see during a timeout, the bench guys are not taking the time getting up. They're getting off the bench because they're in tune to, if I get called in the game, I know what's going on.
Right.
It won't take 2 or 3 times up the floor.
They all they're playing on a string together, basically.
They're playing.
Yeah.
It reminds me in '86 when you had Lewis Lloyd, Lucas, Rodney, Ralph, and the King starting 5. Coming off the bench, myself, Alan Level, Jim Peterson, Craig Elo, Mitchell Wiggins, Hank McDowell. We would sit on the bench and we didn't know when we were going to get called. I didn't know if I would come in as a 3 or a 2 or 1. But we were all sitting on that bench and we would watch what's going on. Mitchell Wiggins and myself, we say, we can switch that. If he cheats, we can switch it. I can hold him. So this is what these guys are doing. They're talking on the bench, just not rah-rah cheerleaders, but they are ready to step on the floor and don't miss a beat.
Right. And you can see that when they're playing them. I'm lucky enough to actually, they're allowing fans, and I have season tickets. And so I've seen just about every home game. I missed one, but to see them for the first 3 games, 4 games when they had James Harden, to the middle when it really got ugly with James Harden, to now where they're at. I mean, it's literally night and day.
Hey, it is night and day. It's full moon compared to a cloudy moon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need a flashlight with a full moon. I can see everything.
Right. And they look a lot better, and they're on that 4-game winning streak, and I hope they keep going.
Yes, sure do.
And keeping with the NBA, who in the NBA are you watching the most right now? If you could give a team and a player individually that you're most intrigued by.
Well, nationally, let me start at the top. I'll go with the Lakers because what they brought in, these guys are playing well. You have the Clippers are playing well. Portland, I'm looking. Let's say the West Coast of that part first. Portland. Naturally, you got to tune in and see what Steph's gonna do. You have to see what Steph. Then we come to the mountain area time. Let's go with Dallas, Denver, Utah, and Chris Paul. He's got these guys ripping and running in Phoenix. And now I got to say, New Orleans. Hey, I loved it. If the season was going on, and let's say I was a young fella in New Orleans, hawking cold beer, right? I would go broke because I'd be watching Zion the whole time. And I used to do that in San Antonio. When I was in San Antonio, when the Spurs came, I got a job at the Hemisphere Arena, hawking beer because my dad was the head bartender at the Spurs Corral. And I was there that afternoon when Gervin won the scoring title against David Thompson. Let me tell you, I didn't sell no Lone Star beer or Pearl Light.
Out there, huh?
God. And then with when you have with Milwaukee playing well, and surprisingly, you still got Toronto and Memphis that are playing well. And then let's go East Coast. New York, they're still trying to find their identity, but they're playing well. I gotta give it to New Jersey. There's 3 guys there. They're kind of getting lower now, but let's see what happened as you and I and locker room talk. Let's see what happened when it comes nut cutting time.
Right.
Okay? Miami, when Jimmy Butler's healthy, a
whole different team. You
can hold it. And then Orlando's got good, and you kind of wait to, kind of feel for Michael Jordan. He's got a lot riding up there, but wow, you want shot, because that was me. I was a Hornet, one of the original.
Right.
You would like to see them do well, but from the basic topics like tonight, you got Milwaukee and New Orleans playing.
Right.
Okay. Tomorrow you got the legacy, Lakers versus Celtics.
Can't wait for that one.
And it doesn't matter who's either on the team. Everybody still wants to see Lakers Celtics. Because think of this. These are still there's only 2 teams that still got their original colors. Can you believe that?
It's crazy.
They still are keeping their original color. Everybody changing all these colors
every
like
year,
they're going to Cinderella's ball and they ain't going nowhere.
Right.
You better stick with what you know.
Right. And to speak on when you brought up the Lakers, it was basically a couple of days ago was the 1-year passing of Kobe Bryant.
Yes.
Now, I don't know if you ever had the opportunity to meet Kobe or see him play in person or anything like that.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'll let you go ahead.
Okay.
What happened or what have you known of Kobe?
Okay. When I came back out of that sabbatical in 83, Joe Jellybean Bryant was on the team. And there was this 5-year-old Kobe. Okay. 5-year-old Kobe. He on the floor shooting. And he said, this little fella got shot and all. So we were practicing. And when you hit, and I hit 5 in a row. And then on the 6th when I hit, and he started walking with the ball. I said, Kobe, hand me the ball, son. You ain't none of my daddy. I said, ain't this? So I should have known then that was going to be his attitude. You ain't telling me what to do.
Man, 5 years old.
Yeah, but I did catch the ESPN special, and that was a little bit different how they did it with Kobe 1 year later.
Yeah.
Unlike his tragic death when they tried to combine everything, when you saw his accomplishments, when you saw his mental attitude, and then when I heard and I saw it in the Chronicle paper here, that coach of Bill O'Brien had Kobe come down. I think it was Bill or a little bit, one of the other coaches, had Kobe come talk to the Texans. Now here, football coach asking a basketball legend to come speak to my players. That kind of gives you that his mindset. Right. That I'm just, even when his rookie year, he was drafted by Charlotte, and he flat out said, I'm not going to Charlotte. I want to go to LA.
Right.
I want to go to LA. And everybody kind of look, where's he come from?
Right. Because the league wasn't as young back then either.
No, the league was not young at all.
Right.
And then when we found out with this ESPN special how Jerry West pulled him underneath his wings, had Kobe come to the house and they feed him dinner. He would talk and all. And I remember Jerry West, they had said one thing that's when he started calling himself the Mamba. And Jerry West says, well, I'm the mongoose. And the mongoose, Mamba ain't beat no mongoose yet. That's when he looked and says, wait and see. So it was a beautiful thing, the alkaloids that came out, and they were true alkaloids. It wasn't a gushy, it was enlightening, and it was lifting up a man.
That emotional part had kind of passed for a lot of people, where it was still emotional, but now it was like
it was very emotional during the time, but now it's the type of thing. You know how do we do it? It's like the gladiators. You know, that's hey, I got you.
Right. Awesome. Thank you. That's a crazy story, man. That's awesome though. You knew you met him that young. He still had that same attitude, that same personality.
And you know who else had that attitude too?
Who else?
When I played with his daddy.
So his dad did too. Oh, Steph. Oh, so you played with. Oh, so you were in Charlotte with Del Curry?
Yeah, I was in Charlotte with Dale, Kurt Ramos, Muggsy. Okay, oh God, I can't help. Kelly Tripucka. Okay, Ricky Green. So we had a good squad, but when Steph started to come on the floor, he was the same way. You know, you couldn't get it out of his hands once he had it.
It's cool because so many people. I think of that picture with Dell holding Steph when Steph is like just a little, probably 6-7 years old on the bench. But it's cool to hear the stories and stuff behind it. Also, let's see what other questions we got. Keeping it in the NBA range. You grew up in a different time than I did, and that people probably listening to this did. Flat out, who do you think is the greatest of all time at basketball?
Okay, for the ones during my era on the floor.
Just who do you think out of everything? Who do you got as the GOAT?
I go with the doctor.
So you can go old school.
I go with the doctor because at the time of when the NBA and the ABA, when David Stern looked up and saw people were leaving New York to go over to Jersey to watch the Nets play, people were flying to go see St. Louis play, okay? Virginia Squires with Gervin on there. Then it came to San Antonio Spurs. Everybody was going to go see the doctor from the Rutgers and from the Summer League, the Rutgers and everything. Everybody wanted to see the doctor. And here it is, the doctor brought the NBA together. He brought one man, think about it. Even when you have Bill Russell, Jerry West, Oscar Robertson, okay, all the greats, Calvin Murphy, Rudy T, Pete Maravich, everybody was still, okay, and arenas weren't selling out. But when they brought the Nets in to the NBA, kaboom, sales went up. And here's the thing why I say the doctor is because the doctor always had to make house calls. He couldn't have an off night on the road because people wanted to see the doctor perform. And he put on a show.
So you kind of think he was, because from a lot what you're saying, it sounds a lot like Michael when the game went global, because that dream team and the USA team, and he was putting on a show.
Michael did global. Yeah, let's be honest. Michael did bring global. He did bring global. And when that Team USA, even the Bulls prior, but and you know, gotta remember, I think I played about 5 years against Michael. But when you're going against the doctor, think about it, man. You up there, you fist bumping against the Nets and then Philly, and you're trying to think about what's he gonna do, you know, your jaw drops.
Yeah.
And then I'll give you one story too. My first time playing in the Garden. And we were good. We were good. And all of a sudden, John Lucas says, okay, I got JoJo. Mo, you got Cowens. Rudy, you got so-and-so. Bobby, you got Hondo. And now I was good to go until he said Hondo, and I turned and looked. I didn't see the ball go up, and I'm still looking at him running down the floor getting the layup. I had told John, shut up. Let me play ball, man.
Just let me
That's
play,
Havlicek. I know who he is.
That's another great story, man. And so, you know, with all that, that was kind of the idea behind this podcast, is to kind of get more into the NBA, because, you know, you're crazy like me, how you knew the Bucks and the Pelicans play tonight. You got Lakers, Celtics. I look at that schedule every single day and just love watching basketball. And so I just kind of wanted to get us to give a chance to really get into basketball and have some of the other stuff as well. But again, from a basketball standpoint, because last time we kind of talked about the tip to get to the top, to be the best version of yourself. But from a basketball standpoint, if you get one thing to tell a younger kid coming up wanting to play this game that truly loves the game, for example, if you were talking to young Kobe at 5 years old, you know, what would be the one thing you would tell that kid about the basketball game and the best tip he could have for basketball?
Improve yourself each day. Work on your game each day and push yourself each day. You know, at the time when I was playing the league and rookies came up, you remember we all went 4 years to school.
Mm-hmm.
No, Moses was the first to come out high school, then Daryl Dawkins, then Bill Willoughby. So when we came out 4 years, the vets were already there on the floor.
Right.
So we had to work our way in. Now you got the kids coming out early and they feel like I'm going to be the team. So I had to watch Murphy and Rudy. I listened to Moses. And then when we got Rick Barry, Rick showed me some things to do. So it was a matter of improve your game each day until that time comes. You know, it was a shift that went. You didn't see just a guy. Even think about Pete Maravich when he got with Atlanta. He had to work his way up. Right. The guys were frustrated at him because he was making passes and they weren't used to that. You know, you were open, catch the ball. It's a layup.
Yeah.
But no, you would say to work on a game and to improve yourself. But one thing the other thing I would say that these are what the doctor, Bob Lanier, I'll never forget, Jabbar, Doc, let's see, Jojo White, Walt Frazier, and when we would go play on the road, here's one thing, they saw me play and they say, hey, you got a game, you're gonna be here a while. Even though you came from a NAI school and you're playing against all these guys, you got a game means you're gonna be here. Mm-hmm. And you're cocky when you put on that uniform, number 50. But here's what they said to me, and it's some things I've said to kids today. But when the game's over with and you come out that uniform and you shower and you get dressed and you come out the locker room, number 50 stays in the locker room. 50 does not come out that locker room. He doesn't walk the street and say, don't you know who I am? He doesn't go into a restaurant, I need a table, okay? That cocky guy stays in the locker room. You go back to being the guy that will cut the next door neighbor's yard, say good morning to the post worker guy, and how you doing? You keep that cocky SOB in the locker room.
So that was their advice towards you.
That was their advice toward me. Yes.
And when did you hear that as a rookie, or was that?
I heard that as a rookie.
As a rookie.
Because you know, you're coming out. Let's see. I was the second round 40th player pick. Nobody knew who Robert Reid was from St. Mary's.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even though I was in that first class with Jack Sigma, Purvis Short, Archie Talley, but nobody knew who Robert Reid was.
Yeah.
You know, going up in the pros. You know, I could run the 100 in like 10-1. Okay. So I'll never forget when you know how you had to do the line drill.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I did it and I finished, Murph and Rudy and them were just hitting the end of the court and then coming. And I'm standing there just breathing, you know, because that's what we did at school.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Lasaki said, everybody back in line, do it again. And this time when I finished, they were just hitting the free throw line, still had to come and go full and come back.
You're making everybody
that's
run
why I
more.
say, hey, you got to make your own footsteps, make your own footprints. And those guys helped me. They kept me grounded.
Awesome. That's great advice. I agree with that. And again, thank you for being on the episode on the podcast one more time.
Oh, always.
Had to get some NBA talk in there. Thank you again. So we'll wrap it up. And
but Jordan, I want to thank you so much. And next time, just pick the phone up, bro.
3.
See you at the top.
See you at the top. That's where I go.